In our vision of thoughtful Christianity, transforming lives on campus today, changing culture tomorrow, what we envision is not merely bringing people together on campuses to believe that the Christian God is real. It's true, but we desire to see people believing in the Christian God. This is a difference that makes a difference. Belief that God is real is mere intellectual assent to a proposition. Belief in God's reality also involves a volitional consent and effective movement toward God. Said differently, we don't want people to merely believe that God is present in the world. We want people on campus to embrace God's presence in the world, in their world, and practice the presence of God as world changers. This involves living the apologetic lifestyle, one that is winsome and attractive. The Apostle Paul, a philosopher, theologian, and biblical scholar, understood that we are saved by grace alone through faith alone. But it was not by a faith that stands alone. James, another apostle, reminds us that faith without works is dead because faith without works is only in the head. If God really sent Christ into the world to reconcile us, that should shake our thinking. We want to introduce people to the reality of God, a God who transforms lives, communities, and entire civilizations. In Paul's greatest book, Romans, after giving 11 chapters on doctrine, he begins chapter 12 with some exhortation. I urge you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, present your bodies as living and holy sacrifice, acceptable to God, which is your spiritual service of worship. He continues, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. This bit about loving God with our mind is often ignored in the Christian community. The role of reason in the life of the soul is applicable for individual character formation. Paul could have said, be transformed by having close feelings toward God or willfully obeying God's commands. He didn't. Why? What is it about the Christian mind that justified Paul's elevation of the mind? He mentions first the body as sacrifice. It's the vehicle through which we interact with the world, but how do we gain the motivation, the insights, and the perspective necessary to act and to change? Our beliefs naturally precede our behavior. Not merely our declared beliefs, but our actual beliefs. Anyone who has struggled with bad habits knows that you don't just double down and will those habits away. For Paul, the key to change is forming a new perspective, a faith or trust perspective. Belief precedes behavior, and then habit formation, and then character. To use an agricultural metaphor about sowing seed and reaping a harvest, we sow a thought and we reap an action. Sow an action and reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. The role of reason in the life of the soul is no insignificant matter. Paul elsewhere admonishes us in Philippians 4:8. Whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is right, whatever is pure, lovely, of good repute, let your mind dwell on these things. God is truth, and truth dwells in the mind. In Colossians 3:2, he quips, set your mind on things above, not on things that are on earth. It's vital to create new spiritual pathways by first developing a new perspective. We take on the mind of Christ, relying on God's Spirit, but by developing a view about reality, a way of knowing and of acting as apprentices of Jesus. It's coming to see the world the way Jesus sees the world, the reason of Christ, the meaning of Ratio Christi. Knowledge is central, not peripheral to the Christian life. Jesus said it. This is eternal life, to know God. In his book, Love Your God with All Your Mind, Christian philosopher and spiritual life writer J.P. Moreland says, the mind is the soul's primary vehicle for making contact with God and plays a fundamental role in the process of human maturation and change, including spiritual transformation. We want to love God not only with the hands and heart, but also significantly with the head. We want to see lives transformed on campus today.